when I remember it in my diary.
Mm-hmm. But there's no formal log. No.
Okay. I mean, we do put it on our system,
mm-hmm.
which is care control. So, I mean, there's notes going back, and it will say there was a cannabis smell, and when we've told Sarah.
Mm-hmm. So is there a way of getting a copy of that so I could see how often that's been reported to Sarah?
You most probably could. I wouldn't be able to get them for you.
Mm-hmm.
Julie would be able to, because she's got management access to the system. I haven't.
Yeah, okay.
So Julie would be able to get that all off for you, whereas I can only add and kind of like have a little look back, but I can only go back so far, whereas Julie has full access.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I'll ask Julie for that then. And you also mentioned about the comments about the orange light, that they were removed from the system.
Yes.
So who do you think did that?
I don't know, because it was, I thought because Julie and the night worker Cliff, we used to have a system called Echo, where all the notes would go on, and then we changed to this new system back last year. Julie and Cliff now can't get access to that old system.
Oh, right.
But I've still got permissions because I do some hours on CST with one particular lady, and all of her notes are on the Echo system, so I still get access. So last week I was going through the system of like when there has been incidences and when I was on nights, and that's when I've wrote down things, and that's when I wrote down about the orange light, which was Sarah put up on the 29th of the 9th, 2020, put a note up that the orange light is his shower room, bathroom light. And I know that it was a couple of days before that date that both me and Mark, I'd put it up first. And then I think it was a couple of days later, Mark noticed the orange light as well. But those notes, now at the time, I remember seeing Mark had also put down about the orange light. I have gone through the Echo system to around that date and before, and both the notes that me and Mark put on the system at the time aren't there anymore.
But Sarah's note still is saying that she checked for an orange light.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So in terms of, have you ever had any conversations with Sarah about drugs use, suppliers, anything like that?
Yes.
And
it's sort of been, oh, well, I wouldn't know them. Because a couple of times, like, you go back through on the CCTV, she'll go back on the CCTV, she'll get a close-up, and then I'm sort of like, because unfortunately, I'm at that age now that I'm going through the menopause, memory-wise, names, if you show me a photo, then the name straight away comes. So I'll see somebody and it'd be like, oh, that looks like Sean Powell. And she'd like, well, who's that? And I said, well, he used to be one of the biggest heroin dealers in Hereford. And she'd say, well, how do you know that it's him? I grew up with Sean Powell. So I went to school with Sean Powell. He was a couple of years younger than me, so I know him. I know that he does drugs. I know what spots that he does drugs in when he's meeting people to deal. And I said, usually it's at the tunnel. At our Tesco's in town, there's you have to go, you go down into the car park and then you have to go up the other side. But where part of the tunnel where you go back up isn't cameraed. And you often see him there, because I go shopping at Tesco's, dealing drugs there. I inform the Tesco staff, I inform the police. When I was working nights, I would quite often be leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he would be dealing at the bus stop outside. They'd all be gathered there, and you could see, and he'd be like, right, as soon as I get round this corner, I'll phone the police. Do you know what I mean? So I would say, and I'd say like the dealer's names, oh, that looks like so and so, and she'd be like, oh, how can you tell, and all this, and it's like, because I used to work with ex-offenders, and 100% the ex-offenders that I used to work with were heroin users. They would have their dealers come to the property then at the time. So you get to know a face and a name and stuff like that. So I quite often say to her, they're dealing. It's dealing. Do you know what I mean? And then of course the police would turn up next door, and it would turn out that Paul had actually been cuckooed. So he had big deal. And I mean, we're talking like not local dealers. These were like from Birmingham, Wolverhampton, would be using his property to deal drugs from. He was raided, he was arrested, and he'd be like, oh, it's for him next door. It was always for him next door. It was never, well, they're not coming to see Matt. And it's like, but they're knocking on his door. They're like literally there for less than 5 minutes, and then they go in. Oh, but it's a friend. I don't have friends that come to my door and I don't even invite them in. Oh, do you want a cup of tea? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And have you ever had any suspicion that she might take drugs or smelt cannabis on her or anything like that?
Never smelt cannabis on her. Oh, dare I say it? Like I stated before, she makes it known that she likes to drink. And it's kind of like daily basis. Or me and Kev, who's her husband, we had a couple of bottles of wine, and then we had a couple of beers, and then we went down to the Oxford Arms, and you sort of like think, Christ, you've had this much and you drove to work. There was a time that she came in and she was like, oh, I don't know if I'm still a bit pissed. And then when I got in her car and went to see a client on CSD, and it's like, sort of like, oh God. Do you know what I mean? Drug wise, like I said, if she was in her own time, what she does at home is none of my business. When she comes into work and she says she's been drinking, and it's sort of like, oh. But is that me because I'm a non-drinker? Do you know what I mean? Is my perceptive of her then clouded because I don't drink? So to me, it's not up to me, I don't think, to judge about her drinking.
But you've never felt any.
No. I mean, she's come in some mornings and she's looked as rough as a badger's ass. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, what she does in her own time is none of my business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that we haven't talked about? Anything else that is relevant to this conversation in terms of the way she treats Matthew?